Let's go, Rider Nation.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. It's a feeling now. Get 'em high, get 'em low, 'cause we're dealing now. Everybody's giving it all they got, 'cause we're ready.
Welcome to the Piffles Podcast, your Saskatchewan Roughriders fan podcast of the team that is in first place in the CFL West Division, and that makes me smile. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm Alex.
And since Steve's not here, I'm Greg, because I only introduce myself when Steve's not here.
Man, and he didn't even give us the decency of letting us line up replacement Steve. We could have had Jeff Fairholm this week if
Yeah,
Steve
just,
gave
you
us
know-
more than like 3 minutes notice of saying, oh, I can't be on the show.
Yeah, just like, oh, my lungs hurt because I'm playing volleyball and so on. This is why I play video games. I do not need athletic competition to make myself feel better, especially in that smoky environment. My
Right?
God,
So
that
bad out.
sucks. It's like
Yeah,
inhaling a campfire.
No, that'd be a hard pass from me to go outside, and I barely go outside to live right now with how bad this smoke is, let alone to go outside and do fun activities. No thanks.
Like, come on,
Anyway.
Steve. NCAA 25 came out this week. Join in the world and play in that game.
You got your CFL teams created.
I've actually already created the Regina Thunder.
Nice.
It hasn't gone live yet, but yeah.
How bad did you
playing around
make
with
the Saskatoon Hilltops?
I haven't made them yet, so I just was kind of fooling around in Team Builder the other day. It's my dream. I love that thing. It's awesome.
You're gonna play the Hilltops on rookie mode and crush them, aren't you?
Oh, I'm just gonna destroy them. Like, we're talking 100 nothing. It's gonna be great.
You can give us a follow on X, Twitter at PifflesPod. I'm at RealAlexD.
And as always, I do not need nor want your pity follows at Greg on Sports.
Check us out on Facebook as well. And check out the website, pifflespodcast.com. Thanks for joining us wherever you find this podcast, listening, watching on YouTube or on SaskTel Max TV on demand. We appreciate it. Thank you. Piffles Podcast is brought to you by Dairy Queen on Elphinstone Street and Sass Drive in Regina. Okay. We're going to talk Riders, Bombers. But we're going to start off with, we have to do it, the Adam Bighill stuff. So let's jump into it. Let's get to the opening kickoff. Okay, we all saw what happened. We were there. If you weren't there, you saw it on TV. You've seen the highlights. We'll talk about the win in a second. I want to jump to that very last play. Adam Bighill, with no time left on the clock, hits Shae Patterson late. Nothing, I don't think it was a dirty hit per se. It was unnecessary. It was cheap, absolutely. I wouldn't call it dirty. I have some thoughts on this, but Greg, I will open the floor to you. What was your take when you saw this hit happen? And now that we've had a couple days to, digest it and see everyone's reactions to it, see it on, how TSN showed it. What is your take on the whole thing right now?
Being in the stadium live, not knowing how much time was left on the clock, I knew it was late. I knew it was a pointless hit. And my concern was, oh God, please don't tell me that this now makes this the era of Cone for a couple of games. Because you saw Patterson grab his ribs and roll around for a couple seconds there in real time. And I've seen a lot of people go back and forth on it's dirty, it's bad, it's this, it's that. Let's be honest. Bighill was obviously frustrated with the way that game went. And I as a former competitor, I get that. And Patterson, to his credit, agreed he should have got rid of the ball sooner. And he did what a young quarterback in this league should have done. Took responsibility for his own thing. By the same time, trying not to throw Bighill under the bus. Because the minute he gets that perception as a whiner, as a complainer, especially as a young player, that's just going to unfortunately make guys go at you even harder. So That being said, it was push him, hit him, whatever, give him a shove, but the entire landing with all of his body weight on Patterson's ribs, that was the garbage move of that entire play. And yes, I've seen Eddie Steele as a prime example out there, former players going, "Oh, come on, like this is like," it doesn't matter. It was a garbage play. Yeah, two things can be true, people. Like, we got to stop living this one person's right, one person's wrong. Two things can be true. Patterson needed to get rid of the ball sooner, but there was no excuse for that in that situation.
All right. I'll expand on that a little bit. I do agree two things can be true. One, I think the play call was pretty dumb from the Riders, at least to have it go as long as it did. It was a 2-score game. If you run back and kneel the ball, fall down, that's perfectly fine. That said, Bighill still at fault for the hit. That was still cheap. It was classless. And this is from one of the classiest guys in the league when he's not diving headfirst into people, which is now his reputation. In a 1-score game, I would feel differently. In a 1-score game where you can get a fumble or an interception and return the ball back and tie the game, absolutely go and try and hit the quarterback, force the ball loose, whatever. I get that. With 5 seconds left, it's literally impossible for Winnipeg to tie or win that game. It cannot happen without a boatload of penalties going against the Riders every single time. Literally impossible. And even then, I don't think they can do a kickoff after, let's say they scored. You still can't have a kickoff just to add a penalty on because the clock's at 0.
Yeah.
Impossible for Winnipeg to win. Adam Bighill, being the vet that he is, should know better than something like that. Being somebody who's on the Players Association, Adam Bighill should know better because, I mean, they say they're all about player safety. The league isn't about player safety. They don't give a crap about player safety. They never have. They never will. But in a 2-score game, it was completely unnecessary. And that's what it was to me. It was unnecessary. I can get behind maybe giving him a little shove, but he was half-assing it for the last few plays. And then he saw an opportunity to hit a young quarterback. This was a guy who was frustrated that he didn't do a damn thing in that game. This is a guy who is a shell of his former self. Look at the stats. When you go look at the game stats for tackles, you have to scroll down a little bit. He was 8th, 7th, or 8th on his own team for tackles. He had 3 tackles that entire game. Frustrated. They've been to 4 straight Grey Cups. They have a culture of winning. Had a culture of winning. They don't have it right now. I understand being upset with how the season's gone, losing to a team that you feel you're probably better than, even though you're not. This was letting all those frustrations out at once. This is a guy who hasn't done anything all season long, who just it was just a cheap play. What bothered me after that was as soon as any of the Saskatchewan Roughriders kind of got up in his face about it, AJ Ouellette came off the bench and was one of the guys who went right at him. He backed away. He tried to just get away from everybody like a coward. If you're going to make a hit like that and make a statement, and I'll call you out here, Adam, on this. If you're going to make a statement to a young player like that, man up and face the team. Don't back away. That's BS, in my opinion. And if the shoe were on the other foot, if Zach Collaros did this and ran around, got hit the same way, I guarantee you everybody would feel differently about this.
Oh,
outside
100%.
of Saskatchewan here.
Oh,
Every
100%.
single one. We'd have suspensions already, and they're not going to suspend. I've seen people say they need to suspend Bighill. They're not going to do that. He might get a fine. Honestly, it was just a penalty. It was a 15-yard penalty is what is the most he should get for that. I can't see him getting any kind of suspension, so I don't buy that that's going to happen. But just cheap and classless from a guy who is clearly losing what he had. He's not what he used to be on a team that isn't what they used to be. And it was
They're
just,
legit the old gray mare.
yeah, it was classless. And I hear, and I genuinely like Adam Bighill. I really do. Nice person, great hard-nosed football player, has really never played over the edge, played close to it. I wouldn't even say he played at the edge, but just a good physical football player. First ballot Hall of Famer, absolutely. Stupid move here. And I said to somebody that we were sitting near at the end of the game, I said, if this was any other Saskatchewan Roughrider team, there would have been punches thrown. There would have been something. Somebody would have done something in retaliation. Offensive lineman, whatever. There wasn't.
Oh, this was last year because it was right at the Riders bench.
Oh yeah, there would have been.
There's no way Dickey would have got those guys back.
No, and kudos to Corey Mace for instilling that in the team. That hey, we're gonna beat them up there on the scoreboard. That defense for Winnipeg did very little in that game. Their offense did even littler.
Their leading receiver was Radio Oliveira by far.
Checkdowns. The Riders defense shut them down. But like this, and I'll leave it here, but just, it was a cheap, classless, not dirty, but just garbage play by a guy whose reputation is starting to get tarnished because all he does is dive headfirst at people. So I expect better out of Adam Bighill. And the way that Mike O'Shea has had that team over the last couple of years, I expect better out of him. But lately, this is kind of what I expect out of them. This is the pretty girl who got all the dates and everything and now gets nothing at the prom. Like, it was just ridiculous. The whole thing was ridiculous. And yes, like you said, two things can be right. Shae Patterson needs to throw that ball away. And he said the right thing after. I think he was playing the game by saying that the onus was on him. He's not going to go out and give them any kind of reading material. He's not stupid enough to do that. Why would you do that? You got to play him again in a month and a half, whatever it is, before Labor Day.
Back to back.
Yeah. And for people saying that it was the Riders are trying to run up the score, no, they weren't. It's a 3-game series. There's no reason to do anything like that.
And they could have kicked the field goal from that point if they really wanted to. Attempt to
that would have killed 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But just, I think it was absolutely just classless. That's all. So I'll leave it at that. But let's talk about the game, because that was actually, considering it was 6-6 at the half, that was a fun game. That was a
fun game.
That was an intense game. And okay, well, we'll start with the jerseys, actually, because we made a big deal debuting the Obsidian jerseys. I know, woe is all media people, because it was so hard to read the numbers, and oh no, we gotta.
I was right. I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, of course it was. The jerseys aren't meant for media people to read numbers from their plush luxury boxes, complaining or talking about how great it is to be, we got some nice rain in Regina and didn't get pelted on by the hail like I did. Derek Taylor, friend of the show. You guys are sitting there in your nice luxury boxes, getting catered meals, buffets, whatever they have at Mosaic Stadium. Oh, I can't read the number. The only time, and I was in section 319 for this one, so I was not too far away from where, the press boxes are. The only time I didn't recognize a number was I actually thought it was Roland Milligan who forced that fumble on Nick Dembski when it was Jameer Thurman. That was the only time.
But that's the thing. Okay, so I'm going to play media's advocate here, because, like I said, I called this because I knew this was going to happen, and my short time as color guy also. you need to know what you're talking about, especially it's one thing for the TV broadcast. They've got good, of course, they can zoom in. They got better camera. They've got spotters. Technically, so do radio. But on a radio broadcast, when you are trying to be accurate on who's out there, it's nice to know that you can recognize numbers right away. Like, yeah, obviously, like I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my kids. I'm like, well, AJ's obvious because you can see his hair. And like I know what Keon Schaefer-Baker looks like, and I'm like, I think that a Joe, I'm pretty sure that's a Joe. I think that's 80. Like, you kind of get used to what the cadences players do and what they do, and obviously you're going to be able to pick out Shae Patterson because he's the quarterback. But yeah, like on fast plays, on bang stuff, if you can't see the numbers, it's hard. It's going to be like, the Riders stripped the ball, and then you're just guessing at who it is, trying to be right in the moment because. Actually, I think on one of the clips, even Dusty got it wrong because he was just guessing at whoever the player was in real time. So, yes, it sucks. But like I said, jerseys that look good on a rack don't necessarily are great for functionality. So
functionality be damned. Those look great.
Okay, but here's the thing. I agree. But here's the thing. If not seeing the numbers matters, then why even have numbers on them?
I have no answer for that. I have no response to that.
So either the numbers matter or they don't. So if they matter, they should be seen. And that is Design Life with Greg.
I was going to say, are you good there, Mr. Graphic Designer?
Okay, actually, I got to admit, though, I advised everyone. So they were showing clips of it on the Maxtron with and I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, the Riders marketing guy. With the president of New Era, and they were talking about it. Yes. They were showing some small clips. The full, I think, 10-minute video is on the Riders YouTube. I advise anyone to go check it out. I was thinking about doing a breakdown of it as well because they were actually showing some of the concepts, and they had bright numbers on them.
Bad too.
Oh, some of them were very, very bad. But like, there's no bad ideas in the brainstorm. Like, there's, believe me, on some of the designs I do, I can show you a design. I've been working. I think I've shown you like this progression of a design I've been working on for almost 4 years, where it's finally to where it needs to be. But yeah, when you first start out, there's some bad things. Even I admit that some of my early stuff is very, very
bad. We did have a question on Twitter about the uniforms. Do we think this is going to be an every year thing? How long will these Obsidian jerseys be around for?
A lot longer than the signature look jerseys.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people buying Obsidian stuff right now. I went to the Rider game on game day at about 12 o'clock on Friday. Mosaic Stadium was packed with people at the Rider store, and almost every single one of them was over in the Obsidian merch area in the corner of the one corner of the store. That stuff was flying off the racks. And judging by how many people at the game were also wearing Obsidian jerseys, hats, shirts, everything, they found something here. The Riders, and we've begged them for rebranding, refreshing for a couple years now, especially this offseason, and they nailed it. I really think they nailed it with the fans. And I think Craig Reynolds must be just sitting there looking at the money rolling, and he's just, thank you. After, losing $1.1 million last year, they'll make that back in merch sales this year. So I think therefore this is going to stick around for a while. It's not going to be obviously an 8 game a year thing. I think 2 is the right number because then you still have your 1 or 2 for the retro jerseys and you can do 6 with your regular ones. So I think it'll be around for a while.
I think that's exactly it. I think they found a sweet spot. I do think because the big thing coming out of especially the focus groups from everyone I talked to was you don't mess with the S. That was everyone's big sticking point is you do not mess with the S. However, I think the way everyone has embraced this new logo, I wouldn't be shocked to see the shield gone at some point. I'm not saying next year, but I could see them transitioning full time into this S. I don't see them going to the Obsidian full time. I could see, you do special occasion Obsidian. Of course, you're going to have your retros, probably on Plaza and Labor Day as always. And then you're going to have your regular set, whatever that set might look like in a year or two. But I think this Obsidian is here to stay. It's not going to replace your traditional Rider green. I think that'd be crazy. But I definitely think there's going to be a refresh of this brand around that new S.
Well, and they've seen how fans have reacted to this one. So, I mean, make money. Okay, well, let the play on the field. I want to start with Shae Patterson. I really like the play calling early on from Mark Mueller. Shae Patterson had obviously those shaky starts the last couple weeks against Toronto and BC. He was calm right from the beginning in this game. That first pass he threw was that deep pass to Keen Schaefer-Baker that KSB dropped. Was money right on the mark.
Yep.
But then after that, went back to KSB, went back to KSB, went back to KSB on that second drive. There was, I think, 3 plays in a row or 3 out of 4, whatever, that went to KSB. And he got those first downs, drove them down a little bit. And it was getting Shae Patterson comfortable early. And I think his confidence was sky high to start that game. And I know they only scored 19 points, but they continuously moved the ball down the field the entire game. When they were starting out deep in their own zone and, 10, 15 yard line, they got 2, 3, 4 first downs and at least were able to flip the field. And if you're not going to score points, that's just a nice little, I don't call it a backup plan because you don't plan on doing it, but it's a nice, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a bonus, but you know what I mean? Like consolation. There we go.
There you go.
Nice consolation that they were able to move the ball even before they had to punt it. But I thought the play calling to get him comfortable early was bang on.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, you could tell Patterson looked way more comfortable this game than he has his previous games. Like, he's finally starting to find his rhythm. Is he Trevor Harris? No, Trevor Harris gets that ball out like this. So he's still not that yet, but you saw some RPO. You saw some play action off of it. AJ is trying to grind it. You saw a guy like Ratkovich get his first CFL touchdown on a very well called play.
And that was a wrinkle we haven't seen yet this year from Mark Mueller, is having Ratkovich, leak out of the back. He didn't even fake blocking. He just straight up went out, and nobody expected that. So that's why he was wide open.
And you're seeing plays out of a young player like a Joe. Like, dude's gonna be a problem. Like, I love that man. I enjoy him while we have him, because with his speed and strength, the NFL is going to come and knocking at some point, because he is that guy. He is very, very good.
One play I want to highlight just from talking about play calling was, it was an incompletion, but it opened things up. It was, I think the Riders had quite a few of their receivers crash down to the line of scrimmage, to near the offensive line. It really looked like it was going to be just an obvious run, and it ended up being it was a fake handoff. Shae Patterson kind of ducked his shoulders down a little bit and then took a couple steps back, threw it out. It was a long bomb. It was missed by a couple yards, but it was a one-on-one and the receiver was open. And it was just little play calls like that where you're getting all of Winnipeg's defense to crash down and they have nobody back covering, and then you get a one-on-one. It's just little things like that Mark Mueller has done this season that has just given me so much confidence in this offense that when they need a big play, they're going to get it, regardless of who the quarterback is. So I like where they're going with their play calling. I love that they're still working on the run game, establishing that run. We're still going to run. They're getting better at it. And to that point with the run game, I thought Jacob Brammer, his start at right tackle, I thought he had a pretty decent game. Didn't really, he had the one sack against, which really wasn't against him. That was just Patterson running back into Willie Jefferson, basically, was what happened.
Yeah.
So I thought the offensive line played a really good game, and just credit to these guys are ready. Like the coaching on this team right now has these guys ready for pretty much everything, except for Justin McInnes apparently. But
my only issue with the offense before we move on is Patterson is definitely locking in, and I guess he won't have this problem this game on KSB and MLS. So Stearns didn't even get a ball thrown his way this past game.
Yeah,
but over half his passes were at KSB or MLS. So we got to get a little bit better at that spread. So, but don't get me wrong, if you got two guys to lock in on, those are the guys you want to lock in on.
But they have enough talent all around on offense, all the receivers there, that you can't just focus on one or two guys. So
Bain only got 3 targets. He caught 2 of them, but he only got 3 targets.
That was a guy who led the league in receptions last year.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have games like that where Bain doesn't do much, where there'll be games where KSB doesn't do anything, and somebody else is going to go off. We've seen that already this year with Bain getting his 3 touchdown game, with Schaefer Baker having over 100 yards, Stearns having 100 yards in a game. So I think we'll see that everywhere. So I'm not too terribly worried about that.
I agree, but when you only have 5 receivers and one is Rakovic, and you only had 1 ball thrown at him for a touchdown, like you kind of need to get a few extra guys, like at least 1 or 2 more in there.
One more note on the offense. Just want to again talk about a Joe. 4 catches, 110 yards. This guy is he's a stud, and we're going to see a lot more of him here against Montreal with Schaefer Baker likely out for this one. So
I love this guy.
Just a guy that his energy too.
Well, the game, like, as you got the game, I watched those game ball video. I hated those things last year. I'm like, these are the corniest things ever. But one, I could listen to Corey Mace talk for, like, read the phone book, and I would run through a wall for it. But like, a Joe gets that game ball, and it's one of the best quotes I ever heard, and it apparently came from Yoshi, going, "Love is shown on film, and I hope you guys," and I'm paraphrasing now because I don't know the exact quote, but I hope you guys see how much I love you.
Yeah.
Like, and he was like, you could hear the emotion in his voice. Like, he is excited to be on this team. He is doing whatever he can for this team because he wants to be out there. Like, 7th round, be damned, this man is a bloody stud.
Steal of a pick in the 7th round. Unbelievable steal. All right. Defense, what more can we say? I mean, we said going into this game, the key was to shut down the run game with Brady Oliveira. They did that. Yeah, he had his yards receiving, but those were all dumps and check downs because there was nothing else for the Bombers offense to do. So I think the defensive game plan was there. Obviously the turnovers were key, where they got them, when they got them. So that was a big reason for the win. And Jameer Thurman and Roland Milligan, you can't show me any better defensive players in the CFL right now than those 2 players. Unbelievable seasons they're having. And Roland Milligan, again, doing it on special teams. Just an absolute stud out there. We're lucky right now where we have those 2 guys, the 2 best defensive players in the league right now on our team.
Well, when Dembski got that pass, and I'm like, oh, here comes Dembski, the rider killer. And I saw Thurman on his horse, and the minute he wrapped his arm on Dembski's shoulder, I'm like, here comes the punch out.
Yeah.
And boom, out it comes. Like, what a play. Like, he could have just tackled him. But he's like, no, I'm getting that ball. Because that's what this team is made to do, is get the ball. Such a good play.
So can't say enough about that defense right now. It's giving me Richie Hall defensive vibes at times. Just the bend but don't breaks, let the other team settle for field goals. Except this team gets way more turnovers than we did with the Richie Hall defense.
Well, the thing I love the most is the run defense.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Like, 50 yards. 50.3 yards.
6 straight games. They haven't given up 100 yards rushing. combined.
They're barely giving up 100. They're barely giving up 50. It's 50.3, 302 yards through 6 games.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. And that's against Brady. That's against Brown. That's against Butler twice.
Stand back.
Like, there's not a bad runner amongst these guys, and we are holding them. It's ridiculous. And typically, the run defense for the Riders has always been the Achilles heel. Yeah, we got ball hawks, but Andrew Harrison is going to light us up for 300 yards. This year, we've got ball hawks, and we got guys that can stop the run.
Yeah, the defense is just playing unbelievable football right now, and as long as those guys stay healthy, this team is going to win and be in a lot of games, regardless of what the offense does. If the offense has a bad day, I'm not too terribly worried about it because I know the defense is going to come away with a huge turnover, give the offense a short field, or even, score a pick six or something. So I'm very happy with this defense right now. It's just unreal.
It's weird. The weakest part of our team this year is our special teams. And it's not even on the coverage, which is usually a problem. No, but everyone's expecting Mario to break one, and we're just not getting the blocks in place. Like, Janarian Grant he's actually going to be an all-star and probably the most outstanding special teams player.
Yeah. So the Riders winning 19-9, beating Winnipeg. Anytime they beat Winnipeg, it's so good. 5-1, a third of the way through the season. I don't think anybody saw us being 5-1. So it's.
I got to find my notes. I got to figure out what I can't remember because I went through every game going win loss. I think I was like 4-2 at this point, maybe even 3-3. It definitely wasn't.
That was probably looking pretty ambitious at the time too. Yeah. Now, obviously, with the injury last week to Jermarcus Hardrick on the offensive line, team needs some backup depth, and they brought that in this week with Brandon Council, who was on the Riders suspended list. They brought him back. They had 5 offensive linemen on the suspended list. Nice that they could bring one in, especially one that has starting experience. Started 12 games last year. Wasn't great. Good, but.
Hey, we got depth.
But you need to, if something goes down again, right? Like, at least you have a guy who has starting experience and has been around some of the other offensive linemen here, so knows, continuity a little bit, right? So,
no.
And it's not exactly like a ton of tackles are available right now. NFL training camps are just about to get started. The talent pool for tackles, for, kind of game ready tackles, is extremely thin. So bringing in a guy that you have familiarity with who started in this league, to me, that's a good move, honestly. To do that, to make room for him, they released defensive back Rodney Clemens, and the team is, knock on wood, haven't had any issues with defensive backs. So can afford to drop one there. So.
Especially when you got Milligan playing both special teams and defense.
Yeah. So a third of the way through the season, what are your thoughts on the Saskatchewan Roughriders team right now?
I love this team. And you can tell more people are jumping on board. That game leading up to it was hovering on about 25,000. And they sold damn near 3,000 tickets in the last 2 days leading up to that game.
Just about 30,000.
Yeah. So there's a rumbling. People are finally getting on board. A few weeks ago when everyone's like, oh, they're 4-0. Why isn't anyone paying attention? Because we are tired of falling for this every time. So I think people are starting to realize this team is for real. It's not Grey Cup or bust, but this team will make some noise and this team will fight every game. And I think now that that's proven, I think you're going to see that attendance start climbing up again. The Riders are going to be a place to be. And like I said, you could kind of feel it walking around on game day. There's more green in the air. You're seeing a lot more of this Obsidian merch. There is a buzz happening. It's slow, it's rumbling, but it's going to get louder as the season goes on if this team can't keep it up.
Well, we call it Rider Pride. We want to be proud of the team that we're cheering for. Corey May said that in his opening press conference being introduced as head coach. This is going to be a team you're going to be proud of, how we fight, how we go out every single game and give everything. And you're seeing that. Fans are proud of this team right now. And to me, that's, I mean, we have 4 championships in 113 years, 114.
No, more. Yeah, it's more than that. Yeah, about 14.
Yeah.
2010. Yeah, 2010. Yeah.
So it's not like we're expecting a win every single year, but we
have a lot of vice. We got a lot of vice championships.
We do. But the fans have always just wanted something that they can get attached to and be proud of. And that's exactly what we have with this. This is a very easy team to like right now. It really is. The guys they have on this team, the coaches, everything about this team right now is very easy to like. And that's like a big difference than what we've seen dating back to basically 2015. So it's been a decade since there's been a team like this, similar to it anyway, here in Riderville.
Well, the buzzword going into the season was culture. It was all about changing the culture, and that went everything from the play-by-play to how they were going to do the broadcasts, to the coach they brought in, to the staff they brought in, to the players they brought in. It was to rebuild that Rider culture. And safe to say, they are doing a bang-up job of it from top to bottom.
We did have one more question I want to get to in the opening kickoff before we move on. And it goes back to Shae Patterson. Now, I'm not saying he's the starter when Trevor Harris is back, because Trevor Harris is QB1 on this team. But now that we've had 3 starts of Shae Patterson and what we've seen, have you seen enough from him to anoint him as the next one, as the guy possibly we roll with next year?
No. Talk to me about after this week when they play the Montreal defense, which I would probably put as the number 2 defense behind the Riders right now. If he can put some points up on the Riders, on the Alouettes in Montreal, which is a notorious Achilles heel for the Riders, then we can have that conversation. I think he's got these skills, he's got the talent, but I need to see more from him offensively because his numbers haven't exactly been mind-blowing. So it's obvious to me anyway that the defense is carrying this team right now. So I need more than 19 points a game. You're not going to win a lot of games by scoring 19 points. You need to get 20, 30, 40 in the CFL to be a dominant offense, and we're not there yet.
Okay, fair. I'm at the point where I'm not ready to anoint him as the next one, but I'm willing to forget about Cameron Dukes now.
And that's fair, and that's fair. I'm not by no means am I saying that we need to get rid of him, but I don't think I would. If Trevor Harris wants to play another year for the right price tag, I'm like, okay, let's talk. But by no means am I shoving Trevor out the door for Shae Patterson at this very moment.
But at the same time, I'm probably not breaking the bank for Trevor Harris.
No. Oh, hell no. Not if you can keep this not if you can keep this defense rolling.
Yep. Well, that's the opening kickoff presented by Kathy Festian of Royal LePage Regina Realty. Let's get to our Churchill Brewing Company odds and end zones. I want to bring up Wally Buono because I thought
we don't talk about Buono.
Close. I did yell "Get off the field, Wally!" During his induction into the Stamps Ring of Honor, just for old time's sake. As you should.
At least you didn't throw a beer can at him.
That thing went on forever. That was a long halftime. And TSN didn't even show it. They had the panels sitting there talking about it. You can't put a camera on the field and show us. Come on, TSN. That was. Anyway, Wally Buono did an interview with Farhan Lalji, And he said that if he were commissioner for a day, he'd explore CFL expansion into the USA again. Would you?
Yes.
Any way you can make money, do it. Build
100%.
and build the game.
But here's the thing though, I wouldn't do it with what the league did. And I advise anyone interested in the CFL US expansion, get Ed Wild's End Zone and Border Wars book, one of the best CFL books you'll ever read. It looks at the financials of the 90s and what was going on. It talks about how Doug Flutie made all of his money as a personal services agreement. It was the Wild West back then, but the league needed the money. If done right, as proven by Baltimore, the CFL can put a foothold in the United States, but you got to be smart about it. You just don't take someone's money going, hey, we got a stadium here in Shreveport that doesn't have the right size of field, but we can play football over here. Sorry, that doesn't work.
Do it in a mall like the AFL with their former rider winning
Archimania, brother.
Yeah, winning MVP of the AFL, the Arena Football League championship game. Do it in a mall. That looked cool. Yeah. As tacky as that kind of is when you look at it, for the AFL, that was excellent. That looks so cool.
It was brilliant. You got a lot of eyeballs on it, and they weren't going to make money on selling tickets anyway. But I digress. If I was them, I would actually pick geographic, do what the WHL does, or the CHL does. Expand in the States, but pick border cities. Stay close to the border so you can have natural rivalries. The only option I would say if the UFL fails, go to St. Louis.
Yes,
it's obvious that the people in St. Louis want a football team and they don't care who it is.
Yeah,
because the UFL is bad football and they go in droves to watch them play.
And that game, BC Calgary, Jake Maier was actually, and you know that I'm not a big Jake Maier fan. I think he's a glorified backup quarterback at best. He was very, very efficient. He was very good. That said, probably one of the better games he's ever had. They still almost found a way to lose.
What's a good way? The sun shines on a dog's bum every once in a while. Yeah, it happens. Every once in a while, you will have a guy find a game like that, but you need to make it a habit. He has not. How many times does Spurgeon win light up the Riders?
Yeah, he's too inconsistent. And I want 9 good quarterbacks in this league. We need that. Pro football in general, even in the NFL, has a quarterback problem. You have a couple of elite ones, you have some very, very good ones, and then you have literally everybody else.
I would like to. I want to argue this, and I need someone smarter in football than I am. Is there a quarterback problem, or someone who knows football better than we do?
All right, fair enough.
Is there an actual quarterback problem, or is it a coaching issue? Because I think there's a lot of coaches that take a square peg and just try to jam it into a round hole. Because if you look at some of these players that come from these Division 2s, these Division 3s that function very well in the NFL or even in the CFL, and you have a ton of Div 1 NCAA players that go to these 5-star schools that just can't do crap in professional leagues. Is it a coaching issue or is it an actual player issue? Because they look really good when they're playing in a system that is made for them or coaches that will go to them. But I think in the pro leagues, especially in the NFL, you have an issue where the coaches think they're the smartest guys in the room and you're going to run the plays I tell you to play and not actually accentuate the guy's skills.
And the elite coaches will alter their coaching or alter their playbooks to what type of players that they have. When you have a Patrick Mahomes, you can kind of, let him freelance, do his own thing. You're not making him be a pocket passer.
Andy Reid, I used to make fun especially when he was in Philly. I'd made fun of his clock management all the time, and it still never got any better. But Mahomes isn't in like any other quarterback he had before. Like he wasn't going to make Mahomes run the Alex Smith playbook. Just wasn't going to happen. So you have to play to your best player's strengths, and I think there's too many coaches that are just trying to mold the quarterback into what they think is. And if that guy doesn't work, they get rid of him, move on. Like at some point, Mac Jones was a good quarterback in the NCAA.
He was a first round NFL pick. You're not a first round NFL pick without being a good player.
Yeah, that black helmet right there. Well, there is a Mac Jones Patriots helmet. It's a paperweight at this point because he ain't playing again behind Trevor Lawrence. I'm sorry.
No.
But he was a very good quarterback and just couldn't get it together in the pro leagues. Like it happens, and I think a lot of it has to do with coaching.
Well, maybe we'll reach out to replacement Steve because he had the little world of coaching that he was in. Plus, we have to get him to.
We got to follow. We got to follow up on that Lapo story.
Yeah, we got to get some Lapo stories out of him.
I was expecting Jeff to comment on that, and he either skipped that episode or decided to ignore us that week.
I think he's mad because we brought on Chunky instead of him. Possibly. Other games last week: Edmonton, Ottawa. Ottawa's 4-2. Are they for real with Drew Brown as quarterback? They've already surpassed your predictions of in the standings. You had them at 3-15. Granted, I had them at 5-13, so they're going to pass that right away.
The good news is the Riders are going to beat the win total for this year, so I'm going to make money on them.
Sure looks like it.
But I don't know. I don't know. Like I said in the power rankings this week, they are like dipping fries in a blizzard. I understand it's a thing. I just don't understand it. Like I don't understand how
you don't do that.
No.
What?
And even Sheldon's like, yeah, no, it's just vanilla soft serve. You don't put it in a blizzard. I'm like, well, okay, but still, people do it. I don't understand it. It doesn't compute. Like it's a thing. I don't understand it, and that's why the Red Blacks actually being not bad this year confuses me because they shouldn't be. I don't think they're that good. I still think they're a mirage, but the East is so bad, so I don't know. Like they're probably going to make the playoffs. They actually might even be an East crossover this year. The way things.
What was it? Steve had the prediction that they're going to host a playoff game. He's probably going to be right, actually.
I don't see them being higher than Toronto. I really don't. And I know Josh from Putski Wee really believes that the Ticats are going to be at 500 by Labor Day.
They win 5
based on the schedule. Yeah, based on the schedule, they might be. I don't know. But Ottawa, they're not good, but they're winning. They're winning games that they need to win. So all you can do is beat whoever's in front of you.
I think Drew Brown gives them just a different look that they haven't had over the last couple of years. He gives them just that little extra flair, or I don't know what to call it, but he gives them something, and that has them all believing. They all love Coach Bobby Dice, and he's done a pretty decent job this year. I'm with you. I still don't think they're that good, but at the same time, I mean, they beat Edmonton twice. Well, we beat Edmonton twice. So same, just to echo what you said, you can only play who's in front of you, and they're winning them. So,
well, and like I said when we're talking about doing in our DM chat today before I sent off my power rankings, like the first 3 were easy. The remainder of the league is a coin toss. Like I don't know who's going to beat who because, like, BC, Montreal, and Saskatchewan right now, I think are head and shoulders are top tier. And I would argue any given day, one of those 3 teams could beat the other 2 teams, regardless. And then below that, it's a bunch of question marks. Like I don't know what Toronto is right now without Chad Kelly, and even with Chad Kelly, I don't think they're going to be that much better. Calgary, who knows who the Jake Mayer you get. Winnipeg got old in a hurry. Hamilton, showed some fire this week, but is that because they're playing the Argos? I don't know.
They outplayed them for 53 minutes, but then still found a way to almost lose it in the final 7.
Like, and we talk about Ottawa, and and Edmonton is just tire fire.
Yeah, Edmonton's down at the bottom.
Yeah, but you know who could use Drew Brown right now? Winnipeg.
Yeah, they sure could.
I am glad they let him go because it. Oof.
All right, well, let's look ahead to this Riders game against Montreal. Cody Fajardo likely out, all but confirmed that he hasn't
practiced the first 2 days, so probably.
Yeah. Caleb Evans probably going to get the start for Montreal, which right now we're looking at it. Hey, we want to see Trevor Harris against Cody Fajardo. We want to see that. We want to see best on best, right? We look at Caleb Evans, start thinking, okay, well, that's good. Should be an easier game. Well, the Riders got absolutely crushed by Caleb Evans last year. I know 2 totally different teams, but it was 42-15. He killed them on the run, had like 60 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, threw for another touchdown. I think he was only like 8 of 13, but had almost 200 yards. Like he was hitting some deep plays. Like they crushed him. So Caleb Evans has that confidence in him that he can do it again. You do it against the team once, you can do it again. I know 2 totally different teams for the Riders here based on what we've seen this year versus last year, but still,
Catherine flu is a thing, people.
Yeah. What's your key for the Riders defense this week to, stop Caleb Evans, something they didn't do last year?
Pressure. They're going to have to. The defensive line is going to have to push them back. You got to let your ball hawk, basically. Like, make him force the throws. That's all you can do is make him force the throws, and then you're going to look a lot better than last year. Because, like you said, it wasn't a great effort, but he definitely led a rout against the Riders. But I don't know. I'm very confident in this team, especially coming off the fact that they got the doors blown off them by Toronto, even though there was a bye week in between. I think the Riders are in a good position to pick up a win in Montreal, where they have a terrible time picking up wins.
I think against Caleb Evans, you get pressure up the middle with your defensive tackles, with Micah Johnson, with Miles Brown, Anthony Lanier, and you have to keep them in the pocket. You can't let them escape the edge. You can't have your defensive ends, Malik Carney, Lanier when he plays out there, Brian Cox Jr. You can't have them crashing down too hard and getting beat on the outside. Once you do that and you're in scramble mode trying to catch up to him, that's where he's going to beat you. That's what happened last year. I like our linebackers better to, maybe spy on him a little bit, but that doesn't seem to be what this defense does. So it all starts up front. If you can keep him in the pocket with those 4 rushers, that's the big key to me. If you can do that, you should be okay. I'm not too worried about their receivers, even though Tyson Philpott's having one hell of a year. He's having that breakout, and I think him against Roland Milligan is going to be a fun watch, because you're looking at best on best right there. Best defensive back in the CFL against probably the best receiver right now, outside of maybe Justin McInnes. And that's going to be a good one to watch. But outside of that,
like Cole Speaker, okay,
good receiver, but
like Fletcher is the only other. Well, actually, Jeshron Antwi is the guy I'm worried about the most.
Well, whenever they roll him out on 2nd and long, you know what's coming.
Oh, I'm sure, I hope Mace is the first guy to break that play. I really hope that is what happens.
Now flipping it over to the Riders offense, going to be without Kean Schaefer-Baker. We've only had the one practice on Monday as we record this. Tuesday is a closed practice, but I'm assuming with it being a short week for the team, and then you have a long layoff until the next home game, which is Saturday next week. So you get a couple extra days rest just on that. No need to rush KSB back. If it was a playoff game, maybe he could play. And you would maybe, I don't want to say force him to play, but you would allow him to play. But right now, this early in the season, no need to rush him back, especially when his replacement is a Joe. Who
especially
in
when
limited,
you're 5-1 when no one expected you to be there.
yeah,
Like, there's no reason to
kind of playing
force
with house
guys
money.
to play through. Yeah, like you don't need to force right now. Like just take it game by game, 1-0 every week. We hear it every week. At least they're trying not to make flinch not happen anymore. But
just wait till
like,
Trevor's back.
yeah, don't good trying to make flinch happen, Trevor. But like, yeah, don't like. That's what we're talking about. Like, there's no need to rush KSB in. Like, there's no need to rush Harris. Like, Harris is signing stuff. Be back soon on people's autographs this week. Like, we don't need to rush these guys back because we are playing with house money right now. No one expected this team to be first in the West. So
even next week, if Harris is good to go, I don't know if I bring him back. I think I let Shae Patterson have the full 6 games.
I think so too. There's no reason to bring Harris back early right now. Save the money on the salary cap so we can use it for something else. Because who knows what's going to happen at the back third of this season?
Yeah,
and just let
trust your scouting, trust your coaches, trust your GM that he got you the right players. And with what they've shown us this year, there's no reason not to trust that, right? So, what worries me a little bit is the potential of no AJ Ouellette. I think day one of him missing was just a vet maintenance day. He's been kind of banged up all year. They listed him with that hip injury when he did that hurdle against Winnipeg, and he got tackled pretty damn hard into the ground. Like he came down pretty hard.
But he's been limping every game. He's been limping every game.
And this is a tough SOB, AJ Ouellette. With first day, let him sit out. Second day is a closed practice. You can play all your mind games and say, well, he was out there a little bit. He was limited. You can say that, and he'll probably play. But if he doesn't play, then there's a little bit of a worry because is it going to be Clint Rakovich as the starting running back, even though he's the fullback? Do they bring Frankie Hickson on? Do they elevate the role of Bertrand Houdon and actually get him some touches this week? So that'll be interesting to see what happens there.
The good news is we have guys that in a pinch situation can step in. I'd be okay for one game with Hickson. I'd be okay with Rakovich and Bertrand Houdon as a hybrid role, so to speak. I think you can get away with it one game. Like, we are in a position right now where like I said, we do not need to force guys to play because we need the victories. Like, we can right now not rest on our laurels, but we can be smart on how we staff our team because there's no wins at the beginning of the season are just as important as wins at the back end.
Yeah, I'll count.
And if we can get them early, and we've gotten quite a few early right now, more than anyone expected us to, we can kind of play with house money. And is being first in the West great? And if going 17-1 be awesome, sure. But hey, we go 14-4 and we're 13-5 or whatever, and we're still first or even second. I'll gladly take a home playoff game. I don't care how.
Yep, absolutely. Actually, talk about the first third of the season. We didn't do this. I'm going to have an article out on Tuesday about this. Just having some fun with our preseason predictions. You did pretty good with our player award predictions with who's going to be, Rider. Yeah. Well, maybe not your most outstanding player. You had Trevor Harris, which
Hey,
mean,
he's
the
got a back
injury,
half of the he's got a back half of the season to light up the league.
defensive player of the year, you picked Jameer Thurman. That's a pretty solid pick. Nobody picked Roland Milligan though, between the three of us.
I'm surprised. I thought I forgot he took Jameer. I assumed it took Roland.
No, I took CJ Rivas and Steve took Lanier.
I knew you took Rivas.
Offensive lineman of the year, you have Logan Furland. So
that was an easy one.
yeah.
That's an easy like who's Greg going to take if it's an offensive lineman? Oh, gee, I wonder. Is it a Thunder player? Yes. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And rookie of the year, you actually picked a Joe. So you're sitting kind of pretty on that. Your unsung hero of the year, we'll just pass on that right now. I think I might have won that. You have Jaden Dalkey and Jackson Ford / Jackson Ford. So
can we have a quick conversation about Dalkey?
Yes, we haven't done that, and actually I made a note of that and I forgot to bring that up. Go ahead.
I love his intensity, but I know there's a reason why he's on the bench. And you can see it, and you saw it this past week. He is taking dumb penalties.
Yep.
And that's the reason why Lacombo's in and not him.
Yep.
I'd argue Lacombo's better on corner than he is at safety. He's kind of settling in on that role. I would still like Dalkey at safety, but Dalkey is playing himself off. I don't say off this team, but off the starting lineup.
There's risk with Jaden Dalkey right now.
He cannot keep his emotions in check.
Yeah,
and he's shown it early in the season, and that is why his butt has been, I won't say stable to the bench, but is why he's stuck on special teams. And it sucks to see because he has so much potential.
Yeah,
and he puts so much fear in any receiver coming through there.
Oh, it reminds me of Craig Butler with how physical he is.
But like he just takes that extra takes that extra hit on the sideline, or he's like taunting when he shouldn't be. And I love the guy. Like we created big Dalkey energy, that the logo for it. It's on Steve's cup because we all love that intensity. But like we said, there's playing on the line up to the line and crossing it, and he's too busy, and he's playing the hokey pokey over it.
And when Jackson Ford is back, I don't see a spot on the active roster for Jaden Dalkey.
I agree. I think he's going to get PR'd.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, good problem to have having that many stud Canadian defensive backs, but it'd be good if we could get them on the field at the same time.
Yeah. And just to go back, unsung hero of the year, I think I got that with Trevor Reed.
He's playing very well.
For not hearing his name and for an offensive lineman, that's a very good thing. And with Hardrick and Blake being hurt, both out probably for the year, him being able to lock down the left tackle is a big thing.
Side note, I forgot to mention, who had a very good game on the defensive line, Caleb Sanders had a very good game against
Yes, he did.
Give him his props because he kind of came out of nowhere that game. He looked really good.
And then one more thing about the 1/3 of the way and our predictions and going back to them. I mean, all three of us actually these don't seem out of the realm of possibilities here. Steve had his Red Blacks hosting a playoff game. You had the Riders winning the Grey Cup against the Alouettes, which when you look at it right now, in the East, the Alouettes are probably going to make it to the Grey Cup. And in the West, it's BC or the Riders, really. So
not going to lie, a few weeks ago, I actually threw a couple shillings on the Riders to make the Grey Cup.
And then I actually had the Bombers missing the playoffs.
So we're all winners.
Yeah. And then we just won't get into our standings predictions. They're not going so well for us. Although we all had Montreal in first place, we all had BC in first place. So
I had the Riders in second, obviously. I don't even remember that. That feels like a lifetime ago.
All Okay, well let's.
I'm the Riders 1-0 every week. I don't think about what was behind me.
There you go. Well, let's get to our to the games this week. It's time for the Piffles Picks.
Oh, actually, I have to get the video.
Oh,
ready.
you have it? Do you have it?
Piffles Picks.
Well, folks, when you're right 52% of the time, you're wrong 48% of the time.
Okay,
wrong
we go.
about-
So
We're wrong about
sorry, go ahead.
60% of the time.
Yeah, it was a bad week last week.
Both you and Steve were 1-3 against the spread last week. I was 2-2, so now I'm in a tie for first place with you, Greg, at 12-16, and
Woohoo.
Steve is the Edmonton Elks of picking against the spread right now at 11-17.
Notorious Chris Jones fan, Steve. So it makes sense.
Also, big Al Bradbury fan is Steve, and happy
anniversary to the rant.
happy 8th anniversary to Steve's rant at halftime on Al Bradbury at a game at Old Taylor Field because it was 2016. Can't play it. It's definitely not family friendly.
No, it's not Max worthy. Nope.
No. But I still have that rant, and it's a doozy. So happy
great.
anniversary to that. Actually, I missed an anniversary when we were talking about U.S. expansion. Happy 30th anniversary a couple days ago to Dennis K.C. Parks for his "Oh Christmas Tree, Oh Canada" anthem when the Riders played
Canada.
when they played in Las Vegas against the Posse back in '94. So
Hey,
30
he
years.
got it right. He got it right when Hamilton brought him in to make up for it. So.
Yeah. Oh man.
My favorite. I still remember his excuse was, I didn't realize it was a Canadian national anthem, or I would have took it more seriously.
Yeah.
What?
I'll never forget. Asked Dan Farthing about it because he was playing for the Riders when that game happened.
Yeah.
And he said we were all just standing on the sidelines laughing, like, what the hell? What's going on here? So yeah. If we go back to US expansion, put a team in Vegas and get Dennis K.C. Parks there. That's what I want to see.
And once again, go read Edwell's book. It is great. Especially the Vegas stuff.
Games against the spread this week. There isn't a spread open right now for what you normally have for the Riders and Montreal because
you don't know if Cody's playing, and so there's no odds for it. So at this point, we'll just call it a pick 'em.
And honestly, I would probably have it just as Montreal, maybe like a 1.5 favorite, even if with Cody Fajardo.
With Cody, I'd probably give it at least 3.
Would go that far.
2.5, like field goal, like a glorified pick 'em. But I'm taking Saskatchewan win regardless. This defense is.
So we'll go with this straight up pick 'em. Yeah, I'm with you on the Riders winning that game. Calgary at Ottawa. My guess is Ottawa by 2.5.
Calgary is the favorite at 1.5.
Really?
Really?
Well, we just saw good Jake Mayer, so I know that means we'll see bad Jake Mayer. So I will take Ottawa.
I like Ottawa at home as well.
And actually, that's the thing about Calgary as well, too. They're 3-0 at home, 0-3 on the road.
Yeah.
And Ottawa's won at home this year. Not something they've done a lot of over the last couple of years. So
no, Lansdowne was the graveyard of football. So it's good to see Ottawa actually winning.
Winnipeg and Toronto. It should be Toronto by maybe 1.5. I think it's probably Winnipeg by 1.5. Yeah.
However, the line, depending on where you're looking, has moved. Toronto is now up by 1 point.
Well, I'm no longer doing it for the greater good. To hell with the Bombers, to hell with Adam Bighill. Toronto, straight up.
I really want to use the greater good. I'm taking Toronto as well. I'm doing game 3 now. Whatever you pick, I'm picking. No, I'm kidding.
I see that. You just don't want to fall behind me again in the overall prediction.
No, but honest, I nothing Winnipeg did instills confidence right now. They are old.
Nah.
They're slow. Zach Caleros is not seeing the field well. Toronto showed they can put up a ton of points in a short period of time. I don't think they're going to fall flat to Winnipeg like they did to Hamilton. I think this 1.5 is going to get absolutely blown out of the water, and especially considering Winnipeg's the favorite. So give me a point and a half with Toronto.
The last 3 games for Winnipeg, we've seen them win 2 of those because they got the ground game going. Back-to-back 100-yard games for Brady Oliveira. You stop them like the Riders did, they got nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Okay, Riders got the best run defense in the league. And who's got the second best defense in the league?
Run defense? Toronto.
Yeah. Toronto. And Riders at 50 yards, and this is off the top of my head because I closed the stats. I believe Toronto's like 53 yards.
Yeah, it's fairly close, actually.
Yeah.
I you focus on Brady right now until Kenny Lawler's back, until Dalton Schoen's back, if he comes back. Like, that's Damski's not a 1. Damski's not a 1.
But even then, Zach doesn't have any zip on his ball. Like I was legit bathing in Bomber tears on Friday night. Being on X, watching the Bomber fans just melt down, are finally seeing what everyone else is saying. Zach Collaros is not the quarterback. It's not even what he was. What was advertised. Zach had a good season and a half, 2 season stops when he went to the Bombers. Before
he also had a really,
he was
those years. They had a really good running game with Andrew Harris and then Brady Oliveira.
He had a very good. Okay, the difference is
line.
Actually, but it's not even a running game. They had a very good offensive line.
Yes,
very good offensive line and a top tier defense. They have neither of those this year. That is why Brady's not lighting it up, and that's why they're getting scored on. So
I like seeing the Bombers suck. That makes me happy.
Like, Zach doesn't have the zip on the ball, so it doesn't matter if and when Kenny Lawler gets back. Yeah, Kenny's going to get those 50-50 balls. But Zach's still throwing with a rainbow, and the Bombers fans are finally seeing that.
All right, and the final game, Hamilton at Edmonton. I'm going to guess that it's Hamilton by 2.5.
No. Edmonton by 3.5. Hamilton just won their first game. Edmonton hasn't won one. This could have been the Owen Bowl. Like, we just had the Owen Hart Cup. We could have had the Owen Bowl.
And Edmonton
at home
to lose.
Is a 3.5-point favorite. I am torn on this one. Because I believe Edmonton should win, but by this, I'm like, nah, I think Hamilton's going to do it because Edmonton can't keep this pressure. Are you kidding me?
I'm going to take Hamilton on the spread, though I think Edmonton actually wins this game by a field goal. But I just think, honestly, when you look at what Hamilton's doing, Bo Levi Mitchell's actually putting up some really good numbers. He's moving the ball. That's the least of Hamilton's issues. It's their defense that's a problem. And I don't really see much on Edmonton on offense that would worry me. But I think these are two bad teams. And maybe we'll get like that chaos game like we got a couple weeks ago with Winnipeg and Calgary, where it wasn't great football, but it was chaos football and it was fun. And I think we'll get kind of a chaos game here with Hamilton and Edmonton just because it's two bad teams against each other. And it's just going to be stupid at some point. So I will take Hamilton on the spread, even though I think that Edmonton does win by less than 3.
So, because when we send our power rankings to Steve, kind of letting the people know this, we have a comment for every and we didn't use my comment for Edmonton. And I talk about how typically when you fire a coach, the team steps up, but it's obvious the team is not structured well enough. So it's a good thing they fired the GM too. Because this team is not good. I'm like, they just could not step up. Typically, you play for your new coach. They've got CFL legends as a coaching staff now. and they still couldn't figure it out, I think Hamilton's going to win outright.
All right. Well, looks like we'll spend another week in first place because no matter what Steve picks,
Won't matter.
it won't matter because he's not very good at this.
Unless he picks against us and somehow beats us. We get them all wrong.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how those games go. As the big one for us on Thursday, Riders at Montreal should be. I hope it's a good one. I'm expecting a lot from this team right now, so I would very much like to see them here start August at 6-1, and that's now my expectation for this team. Is not just hopefully it's a good game and they can pull one out. It's they should win this. They really should. And when I look at the schedule going forward, I see a lot of games that they should win.
I'm not scared of Banjo Bowl this year. It's the first
No.
time in years I'm not scared of Banjo Bowl.
And you know what? I think Steve said there's just a handful of seats left, with some people inquiring about those as well, kind of heeing and hawing on it. If you want to go to the Banjo Bowl, see the Riders
Get them now.
sweep the season series against Winnipeg, because that's what that game will be. DM us, send us a message on Facebook, X. I was going to say Instagram, but I haven't done Instagram in like 3 years. Maybe we should get a TikTok. I don't know who would run that for us, but
Yeah, I don't dance.
it shouldn't be any of us.
The only thing I do on TikTok is look at recipe videos, not going to lie.
We'll hire somebody. We can't pay, but we'll hire somebody to run our TikTok for us.
There you go.
But if you're looking to go to the Banjo Bowl, want to see this team sweep the Bombers, let us know. We'll get you out there to Winnipeg, to the game, hotel for the night, lots of prizes. So send us a message if you want to go to the Banjo Bowl. But otherwise, that'll do it for us this week here on the Piffles Podcast. Of course, the Piffles Podcast is brought to you by our great friends at Dairy Queen on Elphinstone Street and Sass Drive in Regina. Special thanks, of course, go out to Kathy Festian of Royal LePage Regina Realty and Churchill Brewing Company for their support making the show possible. Thanks for listening wherever you find your podcasts and watching on SAS Telemax TV on demand or on YouTube. We appreciate it. This is Ghost Behind Your Mind by Tyler Gilbert.